Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. Why don't we go around the table and introduce ourselves? Steve?
Steve Grenzer with Web Narwhal, gentleman farmer.
Sarah?
Zara Altair, writer.
Simon?
Simon Cox, British SEO.
Well, I'm Doc Sheldon, also with Web Narwhal. And I don't know if Terry is back at his desk yet. Yeah, here he comes.
Yep. I'm Terry Van Horn, live in Toronto, retired.
So, what's been going on everything this week? Who's had any fun or adventures? Nothing?
Well, I'll say something that, there's still people out there in the SEO world who are focused on kind of a step up from keywords, but they're still not getting the message about writing for the customer. Like I had someone approach me, I guess about a week ago, for a project, and they had all these questions about the subject matter and nothing about getting potential customers excited about what the client was doing. And I still think there's a big misperception out there that somehow topics, keywords, whatever you want to call them, are the answer, and you just put them all together and it's all going to work. But my feeling is that if you're not addressing the customer's needs or their wants or why they would want your product or service, you're just completely missing the boat. You're just listing keywords, topics, whatever.
Right, but they aren't gonna see it if you don't write.
Yeah. I mean, so theoretically, with all those topics all clustered together, you can get someone going to your webpage. But if there's nothing there to get a customer excited, why are they going to stay?
Well, I'll go the other direction on that, though. I've got a client right now who's it's a WordPress site and it's almost perpetual scroll. He talks about everything on the home page. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the products and services and add-ons and everything is all addressed on the home page. Now he's got internal pages for it too, but he's not linking to them. So
Oops.
unless somebody decides to go look through the navigation, they're not even going to realize they're there. But aside from the fact that nobody really wants to scroll and go through 17
No.
screens to see if you even do what they're looking for. And they're never going to find your website anyway unless you hand it on a business card, because Google has no idea what your page is about, because it's about everything. So you're not going to rank for squat. So we're redoing that website now, but and the thing was done. This is actually the third time he's redoing it now, because he had two different developers work on it and build a new website, both of whom profess to have SEO background knowledge and obviously didn't. It's everybody, it's just so easy to say I'm an expert, I'm a pro, I'm a guru, I'm a ninja, without having any knowledge of SEO other than how to spell it, and hopefully in English.
Yeah, I think that's really sad. It's the other side of the same coin, is saying you're an SEO, but not really servicing the client's business needs. Because I think I talked about this before, that there was a website that had lost a lot of ranking, and they did the same thing, Doc. They just had everything in the kitchen sink on the homepage, and you had to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And not only that, it was a medical professional. So essentially they were trying to reach two different audiences. One was patients, come here and we're going to do what you need to do to change your life. And the other was professionals. This is how we do what we do, to do these things. You may want to check this out, which are gruesome surgery photos, which no potential patient would want to see. But there, it was the same thing. It was just all on this page, and you didn't know where to go, and there really wasn't even a great navigation for finding the differentiation between whether you're a patient or professional.
90% of the blogs that I've seen, no CTA whatsoever, other than maybe a picture with a link to something, but no, like at the end of a post on a commercial site,
Yeah,
you have a call to action, like something about go to this page if you're interested in this, right?
yeah,
Sending them to the buying page. Most SEOs only think about getting people to the site.
Yeah.
That's their only responsibility, but actually they have to make it sell unless they aren't the one actually writing the content. They're just,
Getting clients to understand that there's a user intent variable is for me, been the best way to explain to them why keywords are bad. Thinking in just the keyword term, because almost everything out there can be taken from two different directions. And if your client or potential client is on the left-hand side of the keyword, but all of your content points to the right, or you can wind up driving hundreds of thousands of people to your website, but none of them are potential customers.
right.
And
yeah,
so that becomes a big issue. And with the call to action thing Terry mentioned, a lot of corporate websites, especially, but larger e-commerce websites and stuff like that, they just assume that their top level menu is their call to action when they're doing blog posts. Seriously, it's like, I mean, I've been down this road with clients where it's like, hey, you're doing these beautiful blog posts, but at no point do you say, well, while you're here, go buy my thing. Like, well, they can always click that button up there. It's like, you have to understand most users are stupid. I mean, think about it.
Or lazy.
Yeah. If you don't, we've always said that you've got to put it in their face and make it wiggle before they'll notice it. And even then they won't notice it half the time. So if it's that old sales thing, you're not going to get it if you don't ask.
yeah.
So you need to be proactive with your content and your calls to action, but you have to do them in a way that's also a little bit more respectful of the person reading the content.
Right. It has to work with the content that you've written.
Right.
Well, that's, and that kind of brings up an argument that has gone around for years and years and years about what aspects should an SEO be thinking about. And my stance has always been, we've got to know how, something about development. We've got to be able to do a little bit of coding. We've got to know something about conversion. We've got to know, so you got to do something about content. So you can, at the very least, see if your content writer is giving you crap or good content. And we've all seen some SEOs out there who Facebook posts show how illiterate they are. So it's, you've got to know something about all of it. And now you can throw in some AI, you can throw in compliance for, security and safety and privacy. All these things get clients into trouble. You've got to at least know when there's a vulnerability. Maybe you don't know how to fix it. Maybe you don't know the best way to achieve exactly what needs to happen, but you at least know there's a need, and you can tell the client, okay, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be improved. And if we're not doing that, I don't think, as consultants, I don't think we're doing our clients any favors
So,
by
so I'm
glossing
gonna
over it.
I'm gonna disagree with you a bit there, because if I'm hired to do SEO work, that's what I'm going to do, is SEO work. If they want me to also do conversion, they also want me to do web development, accessibility issues, all of those things. Those are all additional tasks and skill sets that need to be paid for.
Mhm.
And by lumping that all together into, these are the things that an SEO needs to be able to do, I think that's committing SEOs in general to a far broader scope
Than anyone can do.
than anybody should have. As an
Well,
SEO, my job is to drive traffic to your website. What happens to that traffic after that? I may offer suggestions, but that's not my problem to fix.
The
No, and I'm not
biggest
saying that,
asset-
I don't think we have to be able to know how to do it. We just have to be able to at least recognize the need for something so that we can tell the client, okay, you need a better content writer. You need to get a better host. You need to get some security. You don't have a privacy policy. You don't have any compliance protection here, that sort of thing. And point them, at least get them started on the hunt for somebody. If you don't have somebody you can recommend or point them to, that's what I'm saying. You're right. Obviously, no one person can be proficient in all those things.
I would say that the biggest asset an SEO can have is know what you can do well. And if you can't do it well, know
Get somebody-
somebody who does.
Yeah, get somebody who
Does,
can. Yeah.
That's why I've always believed all the interviews that Dave and I did with like literally hundreds of people is an advantage to me, because I can go to them and say, hey, you want a job, or I'm having an issue with this. Can you help me out? That's big.
Hmm.
And more important is just knowing what you can do well and what you're faking, right? Like I can write, but I came to you when I was wanting stuff written for my client till I, got better at it.
You look like you were getting ready to say something, Simon.
Probably. I have similar feelings about this to everyone, but mostly Doc. I think you do need to know about everything, but just know that it exists and know who to hand it off to. But certainly when we talk to clients, we go in and say, I'll do the SEO part. My wife will do the CTAs, the call to actions, etc. Because there's marketing, and as a team, we work really well together because we look at everything. But if I go and work for somebody, do some work for somebody that doesn't have a marketing team, it's just them on their own, for example, then I have to step in and at least point it out, if not provide something to them. But I'll go through that with them and say, look, I can do this. I'm not the best person to do it, but at least you'll have something to start with, and then later on go and employ somebody to do it better. And I think that's kind of, because we do touch so many areas, it's on us to let our clients know where they're being let down, but where the gaps are.
Yeah.
But with corporates, it is quite difficult, because you, as Steve says, you might be going in there doing one particular job, and you say, right, I'll go in and do some technical SEO. I'll hand that off to the dev team, who don't want to know at all. Even though I've given them, well, they'll want to know that there's some issues, but they'll go and sort it. Even though I will give them action points, and I'll say, do it like this, or at least here's a potential way of doing it. Off you go and do something, and they'll come back and say, no, we've done it a completely different way. And I'm like, that's fine, I don't care, as long as you recognize the issue and you're getting it fixed. And I think every site is different. It depends on the business, it depends on the site. Very interested in the long page and how that's going to do in the future, because if Google are grabbing snippets out of pages now, maybe that will work.
Yeah. I agree on the devs. You have to be kind of walk the tightrope where you say, this is how I would do it. And this is what it should look like when you're done.
Exactly.
Proceed how is best for you, because there may be shit inside that you don't see that they know, and they're thinking to themselves, we can't do that.
I've seen really, really long sales pages like that do very well. Maybe not in search, but as a vehicle to sell the product,
Yeah.
I've seen them do fabulously well. I've also seen them do horribly. The trick is to add some sort of a call to action that's easy to find from anywhere in that page. Whether that's a static banner across the top or a floating button that follows you, that's, and basically says, yeah, I get it, just let me buy it, kind of button to bypass all that stuff.
I remember seeing those in the old days. There was a period where that was a very popular.
Well, and the problem, and that came about because the theory was that if somebody scrolled all the way to the bottom where the buy button was, or somebody watched a 32-minute video, they were far more likely to commit than somebody who hit the page and bounced or left after 30 seconds or only made one scroll. And I get that, but then I always had to wonder how many clients or potential customers did you lose versus, because it's one of those, you got to split test it. You can't just assume this is the way we've always done it, therefore this is the way all my competitors do it, which is another big one. It's like, I want it to be just like theirs. It's like, well, then why build yours? Just send everybody there.
And what you said about not having a call to action on the page is one end of the scale, and having too many calls to action on the page where you just frighten somebody off because you've got so many pop-ups and stuff that the marketeers love. Oh, got to have this, got to sell them that, etc. You need to find a sweet spot between the two where you really engage somebody about something they want to know about. And give them that, and then entice them down a rabbit hole for a bit more. And yes, I can understand what Steve's saying about these really long pages where they're doing the sales pitch and take you down a journey and sell something at the end of it. I'm not too happy about some of those sites, but it works as a technique. I've never built a site like that, so I wouldn't know how to do it. But when you follow them through, it's like the old guys in the markets selling stuff in black plastic bags. It's the pattern. And that's just about engagement and getting people interested in what you're saying.
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of also product specific. Like it'll work with some products, not with others.
Very true.
As far as length of content and number of links on a page, a lot of stuff, I always worked under the premise that users had the attention span of a gnat. And that, don't overwhelm them because they'll choose to do nothing.
Analysis paralysis, too much information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why you want to have one main topic, that is the attention of the reader. And if you have calls to actions interspersed because they don't want to go all the way to the bottom, they're already ready to go, that you can solve that in a couple of ways. One is to have something over on the side, so no matter where they are in their journey, they can just go, yep, I'm ready, click here and go and whatever they're supposed to do. And the other is to intersperse calls to action at strategic points within the page so that they don't have to, however, they don't have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to get to the CTA. And I agree with Terry, it's a balancing act.
Yeah, I like the end because I always believe when people get to the end, they're either want to leave or they're looking for somewhere else to go.
Yeah.
That's always a good place. That's why you have a footer, actually, with all those links in it is so that when people finish the post or whatever they're reading, they can see what else is available on your site. But I agree, you put contextual links too. They aren't really calls to action, but they're they're less.
Yeah.
What do you think about and this has been something that's been being used for years, and there's still a lot of people using it, where they'll have right near the top of the page, they'll have a list of clickable, like the chapters, okay? If you've got 8 topics or 12 topics on that page, then each one of them are clickable. It's a jump link right down to that section.
Table of contents.
Table of contents is huge.
I just wonder how effective that is with the multi-topic issue with the search engine. If you're talking about
prefer that.
Well, but I mean, do you think that table of contents helps in terms of determining the fact that although you have beds and chairs and rugs and bedding on your page, is it going to look at it as though it were a header?
Yes.
For that subsection and help you, so you've got some topical taxonomy there that's clustering that topic in that section?
Yep. It does work. We're doing that with another client where their overall product type has a lot of different subtypes. And so there's one big page that says, these are all the things we do and all the different subtypes. And then each one of those links out to a more in-depth specific product type deal. And that table of contents page is the one that ends up ranking for almost everything.
Yep, because it covers the topic in a way that they can understand it, because they actually do follow those links and see. That's how they can understand the several topics on one page, Doc.
So basically, it's just like it was a heading.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? The best thing I found ChatGPT to do. Look at this page. Tell me
an outline,
all the points in it, and write a table of contents with it, including the HTML.
Ooh.
Yeah. Works like wonder. And then you just fill in the details. And if you ask it, explain each of these, you've got the makings of a coverage page or your category page with built-in contextual links. It's awesome. It's the only thing I found it really useful for as far as writing content. And usually it's not too bad of, it's usually truthful. I found I was writing a bunch of stuff on SEO and only found a few things that were wrong, and they were wrong because it was really old stuff. In other words, it's updated since then. Yeah, I'm actually writing that into my plugin that I've been working on. And,
On an AI topic, Google recently announced they're adding a new watermark to their image generator that even through multiple edits in Photoshop, they can still detect their watermark, which is kind of cool, I guess, especially if it gets adopted across all the platforms, if they open source it. But that brings me back to who cares? Why do we need to know that that's an AI generated image versus something that was collaged together in Photoshop, or versus something that a photographer went out and photographed? If you want to make that watermark technology available to everybody, where I can embed that in something I created in Photoshop or something I took with my camera, now that becomes a lot more useful to me. But like everything else, it's like I don't see AI generated anything as bad. It becomes a matter of
Yeah.
the reasons why you're using it. For a lot of places, like I think AI generated images are fabulous for doing away with Getty. Let's get rid of Getty images entirely and
Oh,
switch to AI generated images. You know,
Anything
because
to
stock
replace-
photography, we know that stock photography on your website does not help. And while it may not hurt, it's certainly, you know, if somebody goes to your website and goes, oh, here's my dentist. Wait, he's got the same pictures as that dentist, the same pictures as that dentist. That becomes an issue because now you don't trust the quality of your dentist because their website is just a rubber stamp of stuff. Where you could generate some AI images to make yours unique, which is always good. And you don't have to spend the money on a real photo shoot, which is not great for photographers, but that frees photographers up to do something more interesting than doing a dentist photo
Like
shoot.
Minecraft.
Yeah, you can play Minecraft or something. So I just thought it was interesting that they've come up with a way of embedding a watermark that can survive multiple edits.
So
It
is it a test
it's-
of what you suggested so that in the future people may be able to use a watermark like that, which I think would be very cool.
It would be.
Or is it just we did this watermark thing and here it is and we did it, which is not cool.
Well, it's called Synth ID and they're embedding it into Imagen. And when I started digging into it a little bit, and the first thing it reminded me was steganography. For those of you who don't remember that was a way of embedding coded information in an image using unused bits. Very cool technology. And it feels a lot like that, where they're embedding the watermark is not a visual watermark. You can't see it when you look at the image. But when they scan it, they can detect that it has that watermark. So editing your photo, sizing, resizing, changing colors, adding filters, doesn't get rid of that underlying data. So it's been a while since Google's done something really cool, and I just find that whole thing kind of cool.
Cool. I think it would be cool if photographers were able to use that.
Exactly. That would be a much better use of it, I would think, and especially if you could watermark your images and watermark them as licensed versus unlicensed.
Correct.
So
Yep.
you know who stole them.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody wants to buy them and you come up with a routine where it says licensed to and embed all that technology. And then it's like, okay, well, if it's not on that website, then somebody copied it and stole it and they need to pay.
Yep.
I am 100% for real photographers getting paid.
Yeah, me too.
I am not so all for AI photographers getting paid. Which has brought up an issue of one of our Facebook groups. Some guys have gotten very good at generating AI steampunk images. And several of the steampunk groups have now banned AI images entirely because they're tired of seeing the group flooded with them. It's like, somebody will do a series of AI images, and next thing you know, that group's going to get 8, 10, 12 posts from that person. Look at all these cool images I created. It's like, yeah, we don't care. That's not what this group was for. And so they've finally gone ahead and banned them entirely. So I don't know.
I built a site on hockey for the start of the season coming up here in October. And because everything is like Getty, they have all the photos. So there's nowhere to get photos of games and stuff, right? So I went to Dolly and asked it to generate some images. What crap! I would put that on a website for nothing. like, oh my God. No, not as-
Dolly is tough. Some of the other issues with AI, some of the programs have finally started being able to do text and words. Why that was such an issue for them for so long, I'm not entirely sure. But like, if you were to generate a wall of graffiti, it would just be random shapes and colors. It wouldn't be a word.
right.
Because it couldn't do it. But yeah, we've used Dolly for testing, for building up product photos. It's like, I don't have the time to go out and shoot all these photos. This is kind of a throwaway website anyway. Go to Dolly, bam, here's my product photos.
To me, they look like too much like cartoons, i.e. clip art.
Yeah, well, it like I said, the prompt is actually important. How you go about the prompts can be a challenge.
Yeah, I thought about Simon it because I've seen the stuff he manages to get. I should maybe sit down with him and say, how do I actually do this?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you later. It's on the prompts, and I just collected a load of different things to say in the prompts in Midjourney, and you just get different styles and techniques out of it. And when you
have to wait for his $49 course.
Oh, okay. I'll pay him up front. So
this one, for example,
Midjourney,
I've just used I think it was macro photography. It was just CalTools macro photography, and then AR colon 16:9 or something to get the ratio, and that was it.
So Midjourney is better than Dolly.
It changes. They keep
Depends on what you want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It depends what you want out of it as well. So
I should send you a picture that I kind of want to emulate, because I can tell what they've done is they've taken a picture out of another picture of a player and then ran it through Dolly and put a different background and stuff on it.
Well, that sounds
like that's pretty hard to identify that it came from a specific picture, if you know what I mean, because they all wear the same uniform, the face is the same. It's hard to tell.
It is, especially when you're using something out of a generator and then taking that further. So maybe you generate with a transparent background, which I don't think you can do in Midjourney, but you can certainly cut it out afterwards and put it into a different
That's
background.
what I mean.
So once
put
you
it
start
into
compositing,
into Photoshop, and then put it in, add the text you want, and then tell it, make it look like this,
Yeah. No, a lot of the graphics programs like Photoshop and Pixio and a few others have gotten really good at being able to rip out backgrounds and identifying what you want to keep versus what you want to get rid of, and then laying in a new background behind it. And it's just a couple of mouse clicks. It's no longer sitting there zoomed in 8,000% clicking
pixel by
pixel at a time. Yeah.
Those were the good old days, Steve.
Good Lord.
I have Photoshop 7.0, so I still work on a pixel level basis.
nothing wrong with that.
Try paint.net, Doc, exactly like Photoshop and free
Really?
with lots of good plugins.
Make a note of that. Paint.net, huh?
Yep, been using it for probably, I think it's been around almost since as one of the first alternatives to Photoshop.
But if you've got a Mac Preview, the little program that opens up every time you open anything up, you can take a background out of an image with one keystroke in that.
Wow.
In preview, yeah.
In Preview, yes. It's in one of the drop down menus, I think. I can't remember what the keystroke is, but yeah, it'll just take the background out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Adobe too on their site, you can get images and stuff like that. I think they have AI running there as well now too. If you got an arm and a leg to pay for this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I upgraded my Zoom before tonight's chat and got a message saying we've got AI in Zoom now.
Yep.
I watch CNBC a few hours every day. Every company is doing AI, Simon, every one of them.
What
Didn't I
does
see an
AI,
article-
what does AI and Zoom do? For
There we
instance,
go.
It,
I just saw this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zara.
I think it's something about your messages and stuff. It collates them all as a message thing at the end.
Yeah, it's like you can be in a conversation with somebody, and rather than having to worry about taking notes, it will actually give you a transcript of headings and particular tasks and whatnot that were mentioned. You're not getting a full transcript. You're getting highlights of to-dos and commitments and promises and questions
okay.
and whatnot. I think
Actually,
apparently you can ask it, basically tailor what you want from it. And they just announced that, I'm going to say the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
the other day I took a video, got the transcript from Google. The last time I tried to fix a transcript from Google so I'd have a transcript for a video, I worked on it for a week and was almost done. In 5 minutes, I did the same thing with ChatGPT, including removing all the ums and stuff like that.
Nice.
Did it with 3 prompts. Unbelievable. Going to do that for all of my videos here coming up.
So last week, the CEO over at Zoom was doing a presentation, Eric Yon, and he said that Zoom meetings actually hinder innovation and debate, and wants the Zoom employees back in the office at least 2 days a week.
Yeah. It's not wrong. And the irony there, we
Well,
can all see.
yeah,
is just
exactly. It's
incredible.
like he's not entirely wrong, but the irony of the guy whose primary product is work from home, saying work from home may not be the best solution is.
Well, and the irresponsibility of making a public statement like that is going to have a dramatic financial impact on the company.
Yeah,
But even Zoom says that this is counterproductive. We're going to stop using it because, well, I want you back in the office. It's gonna hit their subscription list.
I don't know. If you hear a lot of the CEOs talk about remote work, they're all saying it destroys the culture of your company.
Oh yeah.
If people aren't coming into the office at least a few days a week. It's got to the point where Goldman and Sachs said, you either come in every day or you can use the door.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for face-to-face meetings.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't get the same level of conversation and interaction as on Zoom that you can get there, especially when you have people who have 1 meg connections to the internet talking to people with 300 meg connection to the internet. It gets really hard to synchronize the conversation like you can in the real world.
But I think you act differently when you're standing around the water cooler talking to a guy than when you're in a Zoom meeting talking to
Well,
him.
yeah, I mean, I would be wearing pants right now if we were in person. Well, probably wearing pants.
I think how can I say this? that Zoom, like a meeting like this is, there's something about it that limits the spontaneity. So, for instance, when you go to a conference and people are hanging out at the pub, like Ammon mentioned last time we met, that Brighton and San Diego is not Brighton because the pubs are different. We don't even have pubs here in this country. So, so that spontaneity is not there. But I'm not sure about the culture thing. I'm not sure I agree with that, because if there is a culture, it's going to be promulgated in any Zoom meeting. That's how people interact with each other and how people joke or don't joke with each other, on how people share information.
Oh, no, I would tear into Terry a whole hell of a lot more in person than I would over Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing I would say, Zara, is
Yeah.
when you're in an office, you meet everybody who works there. When
That's-
you're only on Zoom, you might only meet 2 or 3 other people that are in your team.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So that I think that's what they feel is, you become very isolated to just what you do at the company, not what the company does in whole.
Okay, well then that makes sense, because without an overview, you lose it. You just lose it. You have
Yep.
to have a company overview. Everybody, the person who answers the phone, everybody. They don't-
And letting people come in 2 days a week only recaptures a little bit of that lost culture, not all of it, so it's not like it's going to fix it.
I can see that actually being worse, because what's going to happen is somebody's going to have to go in for their mandatory 2 days, but the person they need to work with the most has picked a different 2 days. So now those two people that need to be working together, that would have worked together on Zoom with an open Zoom window like we do, and we're working with Rob and Doc, where we just have one open all the time, versus, he's going to be standing around now for 2 days going, well, the guy I wanted to talk to is not here. I guess I'll sit at my desk and jump on Zoom and talk to him. Or wander around and go see what somebody else is doing. But you're going to be far less productive. You're not going to be doing the work you should be doing during those 2 days. I know I wouldn't be. But maybe I'm just too honest with how lazy I am.
No, it's definitely, it's bringing them in, giving people a day off to work from home, 1 day a week. That probably is not going to have a dramatic impact at all.
Mhm.
But bringing them back in 2 days a week is not going to fix that lack of company culture inculcation.
Yeah.
It may help it a little bit, but not much.
I think it's far less about company culture and far more about, we've got to justify paying this rent.
Mhm.
Well,
Exactly.
sometimes that's the issue, yeah, because they signed a 10-year lease.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on right now, especially in San Francisco, where
I think it's more organized, where teams come in on certain days. And here's
could
the
be.
thing, if they said that to me, I'd tell them that, there's, I don't care. I ain't spending an hour on it. Yeah, I ain't spending an hour on the fucking subway.
Yeah.
Both ways. In other words, a quarter of my day is spent, my work time is spent just getting to and from.
Yep.
Same with
Towards the
when
end.
clients insisted I come to their office. I'd say, okay, hour 2, hour home, you're paying for it.
Yep, portal to portal.
Towards my end of duty at the jewelry store, it got to the point where I'm only coming into the store when I can ride the motorcycle.
If it's raining, I ain't going to be there.
If it's raining or cold or whatever, I'm not going to be there. And because I needed a reason to justify being on the road that much. And it's like, I know motorcycle ride's a good justification for me, or riding with the top down on the car.
Mm,
But if I have to trudge through horrible weather and traffic and snow and all that, nah, I'll work from home. Have a nice day.
That's the main reason people want remote working is you spend in big cities, you spend too much time just getting
Oh,
to
yeah.
and from.
yep.
Mhm.
I have plenty of friends who, like some friends who used to work at Yahoo, who lived relatively close to Yahoo, and it was a 2-hour commute one way because the public transportation sucks, the traffic sucks, everything sucked. It was usually faster for him to ride a bicycle to work than to
Didn't drive a
drive.
car. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but when you've got people who are, working 8-hour days, and then you're tacking another 2 or 4 hours onto that for commute, now they're 12-hour days, and you expect them to turn around and be right back there.
And
So they get
$125 a week for parking.
Yeah, it's like, so you're giving them basically 2 to 4 hours with their family at best.
Yeah.
You
I-
feel like
I
all
get
you
it.
do is work.
Been there. I used to do factory work early in my adultery, and it was a hour and 20-minute drive one way to go work for $7 an hour.
Mhm.
Today I wouldn't even let my daughter consider something like that. It's like, no, there's so much more you could do with that extra time that they'd have to pay double or triple that to get me to consider it.
Yeah, between 2010 and 2017, when I worked for HSBC up in London, I used to commute an hour and a half each way to go and sit in an office with 5 people who weren't always there. Sometimes it was just me on my own. And my team were around the rest of the world. Nobody who worked for me actually worked in London. They were all over the world. So I'd have to travel an hour and a half to get on a video conference, because we had video conferencing in about 2010, which was brilliant, years before Zoom came out. And that's how we used to work. And it worked very, very well. So I've kind of been in that situation where I know about the culture. The culture sometimes wasn't particularly good, but in other teams it was really good. And it depends who was running certain bits and pieces and what the culture was.
You took
Mhm.
train though, right?
Yeah, the train
Yeah,
was
see,
lovely. I was an hour and a
and
half,
that's-
but I could read
well,
books and listen to.
I mean, I have friends in Chicago who would, live a block from the train station. Their work was a block from the train station at the other end. So the commute for them was their chance to read the paper, read a book,
Yeah.
grab a nap on the way home, grab a beer. So that level of that commute actually it was actually something they enjoyed, because it was that quiet time before they had to do between work and family. Where, like out here where I'm at, you ask about public transportation and they're like, yeah, there's about 3 hours that way if you're interested.
Exactly. It wasn't perfect all the time, and the last few years I was doing that. The railway company had really pared back on everything, and quite often the trains didn't run, which is great because I worked from home if it was in the morning, but it was in the evening I couldn't get home. Which was for hours, and that wasn't good. I was getting home at midnight because the trains weren't running, and it affected a lot of people because they're very, very busy. This is really only the real way you can get into London these days. You can't drive. Well, a few people do that are rich. Most people get a train in, and as a system it works really well, but it could be a lot better because it's all privatized. So therefore, I'll get into that. But yeah, that was a lovely time. So it's at the podcast and not have to talk to anybody. Read books. I read a load of books. But to get there and then spend 8 hours talking to people across the world by video, in the last 6 months, I didn't bother going in at all. I just work from home, so I'm not coming in. That made no difference. but yeah, the culture of actually having people round at a table and talking is very, very different from a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
There's something special about it, and it's very good. But it also sometimes can be quite the opposite. It can be a complete bloody waste of time. And there are meetings like that. You can say, well, that could have been an email. There are Zoom meetings. You say, well, we've got huge amounts out of this, and I've been able to talk to people that I wouldn't otherwise been able to talk to. And Zoom is 1,000 times better than a telephone call.
Yeah. You can see people's reaction.
You can interact with people a lot better. So I'm all for it. I think it's very good. Working from home now, of course, yes, we talk to our clients through Zoom every day. Very rarely go and visit them because they're all over the place. And that works well.
Don't everybody talk at once. And
I'm thinking about all the different commutes I've had. And the driving commutes are just time suck. There's no other way to put it when you're driving from home to work or from work to home. Because nothing happens. There were a couple of years when I lived in Sausalito, where I took the ferry from Sausalito to San Francisco, and that was like the train. In that it was this like time to get ready to go to work when you're going to work, and time to decompress on the way back.
yeah, I had the same thing when I was in Texas. I was living on the far side of the adjacent county, so it was 51 miles from the ranch into my office. And I could make that drive in about 45 minutes unless I saw a sheriff. and it gave me time in the morning to kind of plan my review and plan my day, the things I got to get after, and like you say, decompress in the afternoon. So I wasn't, if I was a jerk by the time I got home, I was a jerk for entirely different reasons than work stress, But and I didn't mind that a bit. Gave me time to enjoy my first cup of coffee on the way in. I hit the office raring to go. But public transportation wasn't an issue because they didn't have any. You could get on a Greyhound bus. If you didn't mind driving 20 minutes to the next town, there was a bus station there. You could get on a Greyhound, and it would take you to a bus station in Austin that was a 45-minute taxi ride from the office. Well, that wasn't an option,
That's not good.
No, I'm basically unemployable anyway. I'm too much of a jerk that nobody wants me. Bringing the company culture down. Okay, they don't need me in the office affecting other people. But if that was my only option, I'd have to be really hungry to consider it, because I like working from home on my own schedule and being in control of it, and avoiding all the mileage and the vehicle wear and tear and the parking and every other damn thing that goes with it. I'm real glad that's behind me.
So in unrelated news, China has banned the use of iPhones by all government officials.
Wow.
Their stated reason is they want people to use more domestically created phones, and which means software, not hardware, because all the hardware is built over there. So the easy guess is it's too hard to hack an iPhone to know what's going on it. So you're not allowed to use them anymore.
Yeah, but I think Apple is moving a lot of their plants out of China and into other countries where it's more stable, where they don't shut everything down for a few years.
Well, they could always install TikTok on all the phones. some crazy stuff. I love it.
Yeah, but the TikTok in China is totally different than the one in the US.
Very much different.
Like, people can't get addicted to the one in China. There's stuff like they just don't allow you to do things that can do.
It's actually educational, and
Right.
where it is. I mean, I suppose watching TikTok in the United States, you are getting an education, but it's an entirely different type of
Yeah.
education.
Yeah, a useless education. Unless you're going to be a TikTok influencer.
There you go.
I never understood that. Never been on it. Never even looked at it. Well, excuse me, looked at it once. And said, why do people come here?
Yeah.
I can't
Well,
believe
because
people
people-
actually advertise there.
People like me constantly share Instagrams and reels and all kinds of stuff in our Slack, because some of this stuff is just damn funny and it must be shared.
So you share it on TikTok?
Well, I share stuff with just our local group, because like Terry and them in the old days, they learned really quick. You really shouldn't click on links
You
I
don't
share.
click on anything Steve drops anywhere.
I could
Unless you,
derail
you know,
your
Be
I could derail
prepared.
somebody's workday in a heartbeat.
Be prepared. That was good times there. What's his name? Justin used to drop
I think-
stuff in there all the time.
Some of Steve's links might have been what created the need for the term "not safe for work."
Hey, I'm just sharing what I found. I didn't create it. But yeah, definitely not safe for work.
Well, we're just about at the top of the hour. Anybody got any hot plans or projects going
I
on
have.
this week?
I'm off to Brighton SEO next week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Hence the t-shirt.
Nice.
cool.
There's a Brighton SEO t-shirt for this year. So there's that. I'd like to just say, I don't know if any of you knew Molly Holschlag, who died yesterday, sadly. She was a great mover in the web standards world and design world. So there's a bit of a tear shed on Mastodon and Twitter for her today. It's very sad she's gone. That's it. That's my plans for this week.
I think Ammon's he's planning on attending too. So
Oh,
rattle
is
his
he?
cage.
I would love to because last time I spoke to him, he said he wasn't going to be able to go.
Oh really?
But if he turns up, all the better.
Yeah. Last time I talked to him about it, he was trying to figure it out, but I don't know.
Good. Well, good.
Yeah, I think I saw on Twitter he was talking about Brighton. He's got so many friends, it was probably someone gave him a ticket just to get him there,
Yeah.
There are people that go that don't have tickets and they don't go for the conference. They go
They go to the pubs.
talking to people afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the pubs,
Mhm.
which is brilliant. I mean,
That's
Martin
what I would
McDonald
do.
flies from Barbados over to Brighton every
Yep.
now and again just to talk to people. Doesn't even go in, doesn't have a ticket. It's all about the pub culture.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and kill the live feed. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy Brighton.